Hearty greetings to all our SiddharBoomi viewers. We will start with a small invocation. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave. Welcome to the world of ALP Astrology. I'm Mrs. Nithya Shankar, ALP Astrologer, joining you from Chennai. In conversation with me is my dear friend, Roopesh Naidu, joining us from Bangalore. He's an ALP astrologer and also a software professional, very enlightening person. So we will have a lot of insights on Mercury today in the whole program. So we will start with a recap from what we have done so far. Yeah. So we have touched, we are primarily talking about marriage compatibility here. So in marriage, we have always been wondering that if Mars and Venus only plays a major role, but it's not so, because primarily we always consider the doshas of Mars and Venus and we get worried. But here we want to give you some insights that it's all the 9 planet which can decide the destiny of one person's marriage, right? Okay. Now we have spoken about Mars, Venus, Jupiter in the last couple of days. Today we will touch the topic of Mercury. What is Mercury? In science, if we actually see, it is the closest planet to Sun. It's the fast revolving planet which goes, in 88 days, it completes its circle around the Sun once. So it's also the brightest because it's closest to the Sun. And it's also called the fiery planet. So if you see in terms of astrology, this Mercury, because it's closest to the Sun, is also very fast, buddhi karaka, because the intelligence factor of a person is very quick. If someone is telling us something, some point they are discussing, for example, now we are discussing, as I am talking to you, you're able to grasp it. So what is the speed in which the brain works? So the neurons are like, immediately connecting, just passing on the messages. So we have to understand astrology as a science here. How closely the planets, that's why we call what pindathil, andathil irikkirathu, pindathil irikkirathu. That means what is there in the cosmos is actually reflecting in our own self. What is outside, it's an extrapolation. So you have to translate it to the personal self and see how it is applicable. Because many times we would be thinking these planets are so far and what relevance do they have in our lives? But what is in the creation God has made in such a manner that what is outside is typically what is inside. The changes that happen in the outside happens within us. We can feel it. The minute we relate and understand, a lot of factors in our life gets fixed. And all that is possible only because of our Mercury factor, isn't it? Do you agree? Yeah. So the intelligence factor is helping us in so many things. Primarily, the characteristic of Mercury, if you actually see, is communication. So what and all we communicate, all the modes of communication, from speaking to writing to poetry, any communication. This is all coming under the characteristic of Mercury. Without Mercury's support, we just cannot do anything of this sort in a, remarkable fashion. So if this is afflicted, then all these traits we might not be able to do well in communicating our point across to the other person. So now I think you can understand why marriage compatibility and Mercury is related. If you are not able to put your point across, or you're not coming across as a good person in communication to the other, when you're looking out for a partner. So if you're not talking properly or saying what you actually wanted to say, then you are not received well there. You lose your opportunity to be considered, or the other person, if they are not communicating well to you, you don't get impressed, because two unknown people are getting together in relationship, isn't it? So what is the factor? First thing is the Venus factor. You will look at the person and you will see if they are impressive, if they are beautiful, right? How they are conducting themselves, if they are charming. That is the first validation we can do. When you see the unknown person, what is the second aspect? You start communicating with them to understand if they are also having same likes and dislikes with you. So this is the second thing we generally do. So the factor of Mercury here helps you decide if you are seeking a right partner. If this communication aspect is good, then that box also gets ticked in your checklist. Okay, fine. This person looks beautiful. This person is intelligent enough that I can consider this proposal. So that is what Mercury actually does in marriage. Fine. Now, talking about the other traits of Mercury, they are generally very calculative people. In money matters, they very smart in trade and business. They weigh all the good and bad of everything in business, and they will make the decision accordingly. And they are mostly, if the Mercury is good, they are good businessmen, very successful in business and in accounts, mathematics, astronomy, physics, IT field, where coding and all is needed, the logical skills of the person, all these things are connected to the Mercury aspect in a person's horoscope. So Mercury is so important even to be successful in your career, right? If you are Mercury, generally it is important. Second thing is, if you are the two houses of Mercury, I'll touch that concept. The two houses of Mercury is Gemini and Kanya Rashi, which is the Virgo. If you actually see the pictures of Gemini and Virgo, it is dual. Two images will be there. Two people will be there in the image. If you have noticed the zodiac sign, how it is represented. What does this actually say? Our ancestors and the people who designed all these things are really very intelligent. So many things they don't say, but all representation is just there around. The minute you see, you know that these people have dual characteristics. They don't have one nature. They have not two qualities. If you, in our own self, if we think also, no, in the intelligence factor, we'll be dilly-dally. We'll not make decision immediately. Okay, this is what I want, and this is immediately instant. No, we will, in fraction of seconds, our brain will weigh everything. Tuck, 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 tuck. It will just keep shifting, and finally we will fix with one aspect. So this is a basic way of interpretation, but there is much more to this duality. They have, they generally don't, they are good across all the 12 houses, okay? In that they take the characteristic of the bhava which they are in your personal horoscope. They generally take the traits of the companion who is in conjunction with them. They generally have don't define their nature, however and wherever and whichever position they are in, they will take that quality. So in ALP, especially if you see, when your birth lagna is there, the Mercury aspect will be in one house. But when it shifts, if it is in the Bhataka space, then it will take the traits of what intelligence helped you yesterday may not help you today. If you don't manage your intelligence well, if you are not aware that your intelligence is in the 6th house or 8th house, so you have to apply caution in your own thought process. You should know that, you know, you have to validate. That time you may need a suggestion of a friend or someone to, you know, validate what, if your thought is right. It's not that, you know, I am always right. Just because it happened 10 years before, need not happen that 10 years later also you are always right. It is always better to seek advice from the person whom you think is more knowledgeable in that particular area of where you need suggestion. Okay, so Mercury plays lot of tricks that way. Yeah, you know, it might make you feel overwhelming that just because you hit a jackpot, you would be hitting it all the time. No, it doesn't work that way. We would have all experienced that. But if we have not understood that, you know, the Mercury needs a validation, I think it's high time we, ask advice from a person who's more enlightened than us to check if our decisions, if it starts going wrong, just take advice from your dear friend or some mentor that you have in profession or personal spaces also. So it's always good to have second opinion, isn't it? Fine. Now talking about Mercury, primarily, what are the communication aspects in our own health? Can anyone put in the comment box that what do you think is the communication aspect in other than words? Fine, you put your comments while I will also parallelly let you know. See, the communication happens from head to toe by our central nervous system. The nerves are the key to all sorts of communication. If one person, one part of the body is having pain in the toe, it goes to the brain in that speed. Now you understand how Mercury is fastest planet and how it's acting in our body. One small toe, one small nail, you have pain near the nail, it will immediately flash in your head. And primarily, your brain will only be focusing on that pain. And some people magnify it beyond bounds. It might be a small cut. They'll be talking as if the finger only is completely lost. So that's the way, you know, the communication goes. So in the physical body, the central nervous system, and the next aspect is your skin. Skin is also a communication spot because from head to toe, these are the two things which are primarily there, right? So in case of health, the skin aspect and the nervous aspect might get affected if Mercury is in Bhadaka position or with debilitated. These people will constantly have these physical issues in their body. So this is about the health aspect. What about the general traits of Mercury? Mercury, the primary day is allotted as Wednesday for Mercury. Okay, the Lord or the deity to go to or pray to is Mahavishnu, in any form of Mahavishnu for that matter. Okay, then the third is the color for this Mercury is primarily green, any shades of green. Sometimes it is slightly orange also touches Mercury. You can use orange also for Mercury. It's not necessarily for orangish yellow, no? It's not only for Jupiter. It is also accepted for Mercury. The stone that is used for Mercury is emerald. Okay. That is why in Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple, we see that emerald in the crown of Madurai Meenakshi Amman. Yes. This is very popular. There is a lot of story behind that Bhagwan. So, in fact, that is also Parihara Sthala or the remedial temple for Revati Nakshatra. While talking about Revati Nakshatra, Mercury dominates 3 nakshatras in the Nakshatra Mandala, which is Aslesha Nakshatra, which is in the Cancer, and the Jeshta Nakshatra, which is in the Scorpio, and Revati Nakshatra in Pisces. So people who are born in these nakshatra are Mercury dominant people, and people whose ALP or ARP is currently in these stars are also Mercury dominant people. So who should be more worried about Mercury are primarily these people. So all the parihara and remedials for the full factor, because first house represents me, right? So from head to toe, it is me. So when it is about myself, and if it is Mercury dominant, then I should do all the remedials in accordance to that planet or that star. Otherwise, it is only that particular bhava of your house that it will be working. So if your second bhava is Mercury, that is Virgo, house, then for income and family peace related things, you should do remedials for Mercury if it is not in the right spaces. But otherwise, generally, we would advise that the person, if the person is good, then the rest of the factors will be manageable. So people don't have to do for all the stars. It is not necessary, because what is primarily dominating is one character or one star at any point of time, at least for 1 year, 1 month, 10 days. That will be the dominant thing. You have to follow our ALP chart to know if your nakshatra point is shifted. If it is for 10 years, you're in Gemini or then yes, for 10 years, you can also complement yourself by taking care of your Mercury aspect. Now, I leave it to my friend Roopesh to enlighten us on further aspects of Mercury.
Thank you, madam, and very good morning to all the viewers. So, Mercury, out of all the 9 planets, today we are touching Mercury. So, one of the most very, very important planet, and the importance of Mercury when it comes to the marriage aspect, what I feel is it is considered in a very less, angle, or the emphasis on Mercury is not that greatly considered when it comes to the point of marriage, but yet it is very, very important planet in order to check for a relationship when it comes to the point of marriage. I'll describe how it is. So first and foremost, what is Mercury? So Mercury is called as what? He is called as the prince planet among all the 9 planets in the solar system. And Mercury is a planet which is young and ever youthful. Since you were mentioning the one of the karakatwas of Mercury to be the skin, so skin is something which actually represents your youthfulness. So Mercury is something, that planet, which actually gives you the youthfulness. So he is ever young and also is very youthful. And Mercury, yes, as you mentioned, it is the planet of intelligence, and Mercury is the brain of creation. So without Mercury, there is no creation. So what we need to understand is, in this cosmos, in this creation, so each and everything what it is being created has a touch of Mercury. So without the influence of Mercury, there is no creation. And actually, the other school of thought, the Lal Kitab, also emphasizes that the entire Brahmanda is under the control of Mercury. So that level of importance is given to the planet Mercury. So we should also consider one more thing, madam. In this physical realm, right, each and everything has some or the other influence of Mercury, because in order to create something, you need to have that level of intelligence where the Jupiter becomes the knowledge. Once after the knowledge gets processed, and when it comes to the form of application, right, you want that intelligence. So only through the application of intelligence you'll be able to create something. So this is what actually Mercury represents. And what? Mercury is the planet of data. Mercury is the planet of information. On the other hand, what is the subject? Astrology. Astrology is nothing but it is totally based on the karmic data. Astrologers, we just only interpret the karmic data, whatever it is according to the human life. But the entire system of astrology itself is nothing but it is the total set of karmic data which is being placed in the 12 houses with 9 planets and 27 nakshatras. So since the astrology becomes the subject of karmic data, hence the control of astrology is also with Mercury. So Mercury is the most important planet for intelligence and also for education and also for data interpretation. So the skill what we use through the intelligence, the smart skills what we gain is completely based on Mercury. So coming to the marriage aspect, the importance of Mercury. So even though like what we have seen, the prominent planets, like Mars, Venus, Jupiter, in the marriage aspect. See, these planets are important where it actually brings out that opportunity. It holds the responsibility of the marriage and also the event happening successfully between two individuals. But what makes them to run in a long-term relationship is the planet Mercury. So Mercury holds the key for a long-term relationship because Mercury is a planet which is responsible for communication, as you already mentioned. So what becomes important? The communication between two individuals in a relationship becomes very, very important. If there is no communication, we have already got to see so many cases where due to lack of communication how the relationship completely goes into a chaotic situations. Love, romance, all these things are the just the touch of Mars, Venus and Moon, which just comes and goes on a intervals of time. But what keeps the relationship is going is the friendly nature between the two individuals. And Mercury is a planet which actually represents friendship. So only if you have that friendly nature, you will be able to vibe along for a longer distance, for a longer period of time. So this is where exactly the Mercury plays a very, very major role when it comes to the matter of marriage. Mercury is what? Mercury is a planet of humor. So you should have that humor between each other. Only then you wipe out. If there is no humor, if it becomes very rigid, it just becomes like a just a responsibility. That's it. So that there is nothing between in your relationship if there is no good humor between each other. And Mercury is what? Mercury is a planet of planning. So when two individuals are in a relationship, the thing what they have to do is like they tend to plan their future. They understand each other relationships. They understand each other weakness, strength, everything. According to that, they plan a future. This is where planet Mercury plays a very, very important role. So understanding Mercury is becomes very vital when it comes to marriage compatibility also, because all these factors becomes very important. So a long-term relationship is what the karakatva of Mercury in terms of marriage. And also when you were mentioning, you brought up third and sixth house, the houses of Mercury, that is Mithuna Rashi, Gemini, and Virgo sign, Kanya Rashi. So out of all these 12 zodiac signs, right, if you actually watch these two zodiac signs, these two zodiac signs are the signs which represents human forms. Mithuna Rashi is what? It is twins, right? No other zodiac signs represents humans. Only Mithuna Rashi and Kanya Rashi. Kanya Rashi is what? It is a virgin girl. Mithuna Rashi, it is twins. If you actually look at the other signs has its own representation, but not in the human form. There is a different reason why only these two planets, that too particularly the houses of Mercury has got this representation. So whenever we talk about Mithuna Rashi, madam, Mithuna Rashi is what? It is the third house. Third house from the Kala Purusha Tattva, and it is the house which actually tells about the communications. In the marriage aspect, what becomes more important in the third house? It is, yes, the communication. And third house is what? Third house is the house which talks about the semen, the Virya Sthana, third house. So on the other hand, what it is telling? It is saying that Mercury is the planet in the third house, holds the information of our genetics. See, third house is what? In the Kala Purusha Tattva, ninth house becomes father, right? For the ninth house, seventh house becomes the third house. So ninth house is father. For the father, seventh house becomes the third house. Now, why are we bringing the seventh house concept here? See, seventh house is the house which holds the karakatva of sexuality, the gender representation, sexuality. So where is it happening? It is happening in the third house, because third house is the house of semen. For the ninth house, it is the seventh house. So in the astrology subject, it was a way behind it. It was mentioned that the gender will always be determined through the male, and that is what it is happening, right? So male is the one who actually gives that gender to a female through the that XX and XY chromosome concept. So if you look at the third house, that's the reason third house was considered to be the house of semen, where here the Mercury completely holds the information of the genetics, the information of the gender of the soul. And also, if you see, third house is actually called as the house of gate. It is called as the house of gate because third house becomes the eighth house. So this is the house where the soul enters and the soul moves away, like it goes out. Because eighth house is what? The house of lifespan. Eighth to eighth house is what? The Bhava Dvavam concept. Eighth to eighth house is third house. In order to, once the soul enters, right? Once the soul enters, right from the body, the intelligence where the soul has to move in to this particular so and so body, it has to form these relationships. So to an individual, it should behave like a mother, it should behave like a father, it should behave like a kid. See, all this intelligence, all these informations are stored in the third house. So that is the reason third house becomes very important, and it has the information of all these things goes into the control of Mercury. Since it is also a house which actually talks about the gender, that's the reason in the third house the representation is also for the twins in the human form. It very specifically speaks about the the characteristics of gender. The representation is given as the twins there. Coming to the point of sixth house, and there is another thing. Since Mercury is the planet of data, wherever the planet Mercury gets placed in your horoscope, that house will always crave for the data, crave for the informations. Mercury is what? Mercury is the planet of assurity. Mercury is the planet of all set of physical documentations. The placement where Mercury sits with respect to your lagna, that house will always seek for assurity. And that is the bhava which always operates on conditions. If you want, like, you can check. So this bhava, right? The natal, it will always push the natal to apply his intelligence. So out of all the 12 bhavas, there are certain areas where each and every individual tend to think. Some people think about money, some people think about family, some people think about their own self. So if you actually look at where Mercury gets placed, right, that is the bhava where the natal will maximum think about it. This is what Mercury is. You can actually check, madam, irrespective of place, anywhere Mercury is placed, that bhava always seeks an assurity. Without assurity, that the individual doesn't compromise on anything. So that is what Mercury actually talks in an horoscope. Coming to the point of sixth house here. So in the natural zodiac sign, sixth house is Kanya Rashi, and sixth house is the house where Mercury gets exalted. There is a very, very specific reason why this is happening like this, why Mercury gets exalted. See, even though Mercury holds a key for longer relationship, he gets exalted in the sixth house. Sixth house is what? It is house of enmity, right? Enmity, right? On a drone view, if you actually look, it it doesn't make any sense at all. On the other hand, we speak that Mercury holds a key for long relationship, and he is getting exalted in the sixth house, in the house of enmity. Seems what sort of a logic is getting involved here, right? So if you actually interpret the data, if you go a much more depth, why the sixth house the becomes the point of exaltation for Mercury is, and also sixth house, the Kanya Rashi becomes the Mula Trikona sign for Mercury, where Mercury sits in the high power there. Seventh house, we already know, it is the house of marriage. For the seventh house, 12th house becomes the sixth house, right? See, the 12th house is the house which actually talks about the past life. Only if you have that bonding in the past life. Sixth house is what? Sixth house is also called as the Runa Sthana, right? Only if you have this data in your 12th house about the Runa. Runa is something what? Where Runa is something which binds us to the relationship, so that we perform the karmic duties in order to fulfill those Runa in the form of to actually complete the karma, right? So there are Matru Runa, Pitru Runa, Bhatru Runa, like all these things, right? See, all these Runa information is placed in the 12th house. So for the 7th house, even to have a spouse, to get a spouse, we need that Runa. Only if we have that Runa in the 6th house, right, then only it gets applicable in the 7th house. 7th house, the house of marriage, gets the holds the information in the 12th house. 12th house is what? It is our past life. In the past life, we have a Runa upon somebody else, where in this birth we are supposed to become the spouse for them, and we have to perform the duties of Runa there, irrespective of being husband or wife. Only if this Runa exists between two souls, they become husband and wife in this physical birth, in this present birth. So that is the reason for the 7th house, Mercury gets exalted in the 12th house. And another uniqueness of Kanya Rashi. See, madam, in the human existence, the main agenda of humans is only two. It is totally designed in only two matters. One is what? To perform the karma, and another one is to follow the dharma. Right? Apart from these two matters, is there anything else that humans can do? No, right? So it is only to perform the karma and to follow the dharma. Only in these two aspects, all the entire human life gets designed there. So if you actually look at Kanya Rashi, right, in the natural zodiac, in the Kala Purusha Tattva, the house of Dharma is what? It is the 9th house, right? Now, if you count in the clockwise direction, the Kanya Rashi becomes the 10th house to the 9th house, which means the karmic information of the Dharmic house, the house of Dharma, lies in Kanya Rashi, right? Now, if you go to the 10th house in the natural zodiac sign, 10th house. 10th house is what? Capricorn, Makara Rashi. So, if you count again from the clockwise direction, Kanya Rashi gets mapped as the 9th house here for the 10th house. So, for the karma, the dharmic information is present in Kanya Rashi. So, Kanya Rashi is the only Rashi which holds the entire information of the dharma and karma in the 6th house. And dharma and karma is what humans are supposed to perform, and that is the reason 6th house also gets the representation of human there. And this is exactly the reason why Mercury also gets exalted in the 6th house, because he completely holds the information of dharma, karma, and also the runa. See, Mercury is a planet of data and information. Not it holds the information in all the 12 zodiac signs. 12 zodiac signs. Because without Mercury, right, there is no karmic interpretation what we can do. But majoritively in the third house and in the sixth house, why Mercury gets these hold is because of all these informations, what it is present in the third and sixth house. And also another thing, what we have to understand is Mercury is a planet, right? Where we have to see Mercury is what? It is the planet of stability. It's called as the Achala, stability. So stability is what very important. It becomes very important when it comes to the matter of relationship, madam. And you were rightly saying the nakshatras of Mercury. If you actually see the nakshatras of Mercury, right, it is all present in the water zodiac sign. So in the Karka Rashi, Scorpio, and in Meena Rashi. So what needs to process an intelligence? For example, if you sow a seed, right? In order to sprout that seed, what do you need? You need water, right? So after the fertilization, when the semen and egg gets fertilized, right? Where the entire process of fertilization happens, it happens in the womb inside the amniotic fluid, right? The process of intelligence, the processing of intelligence happens through water media in this third dimension. So that is the reason Mercury nakshatras are placed in the water zodiac sign. So where the water becomes very primarily important to process your intelligence. Cerebrospinal fluid, brain, completely covered of cerebrospinal fluid, right? So the fluid, the watery matter becomes very much important. So these are all some of the information what I know about Mercury and how it is actually relating to the marriage aspect, man.
That is truly amazing information flowing down from you, Roopesh. So much to Mercury, and this is just a starting. There is much more. You know, if you keep relating, so many things will open up, and it's amazing how Mercury works in our day-to-day life. How important that is, why it is important factor that intelligence we seek in others. We can become friends with people who are aligned to us. We cannot, because there is, after some point, as Roopesh rightly said, it is about friendship. If we are not aligned to the partner, after a point, what will we talk? If they are not understanding what we are saying, or if we are not able to understand what the partner is saying, or the communication ends, right? So it will be more transactional rather than intimate. You get intimate friendship only when you share same kind of connectivity in terms of intelligence, isn't it? So that is where our dear Mercury helps us understand if we have the compatible partner, and very beautifully explained the dharma and the karma aspect of life. There is nothing beyond karma and dharma in our whole entire lifespan. Whosoever life we can check, our day-to-day life, whatever we are doing is our karma. The other thing, what we are doing, the dharma in the form of karma, right? We are supposed to fulfill our responsibilities, and karma is helping us do it. So complete registry, how children, how semen works, and the third house, beautifully explained. Amazing knowledge flowing down. I'm sure our viewers would have got enlightened with lot of inputs here. Coming to the stars that you were mentioning, Aslesha star in Karkataka Rasi, or the Cancer zodiac. So people afflicted with Aslesha star, or whose current ALP point is Aslesha and is looking out for marriage, and probably if they are in the 6th or 8th houses, one remedy for them is they can go to that temples where snake lord is, kept, and you can go and give milk to that spot on the Aslesha star day in the month. You have to follow the calendar and do that. It is for a parihara. This is for marriage related things. People with skin allergies, because skin allergies primarily happen if your Mercury and Rahu aspect is afflicted in your horoscope. And if it is in the ALP point, currently in places which is going to give troubles, you should do this as a parihara or the remedial, which will help you to, slowly improve from your ailments. If it is health, and if it is marriage, this will help you in finding your right partner. This is about Aslesha. For the star, Jeshta star in the Scorpio. So this star actually has a peculiarity, because this star is the connection between the material realm and the spiritual realm, if you actually see. Because the Jeshta star, the purpose of it is to give harmony to the family and the community where they are. So that's their primary purpose. If you, all the people are viewers in Jeshta, if you self-introspect, you will have this feeling. If your birth star is that, or if you are currently ALP star point is Jeshta, you would have the sense of responsibility that you want to settle your family well, you have to treat them well, and the community where you are, you want to have as much harmony as possible, because that material realm is ending and your spiritual seeking will start in the fourth pada of Jeshta Nakshatra, because that is the first door entry, opening venues for your spiritual seeking. Because all of us are here in the material side, yes, understood, but also there is a seeking inside every individual that there is some spiritual enlightenment we all seek in our own ways. So Jeshta star is primarily helping us unfold the mystical aspects in our life. So these traits you will notice in your own self if Jeshta is your ruling star point in ALP. Fine. And if your birth star is that, then you will have it from the beginning itself. So you would be doing a lot of things to unfold that mystical aspect in your life. Fine. Now coming to the Revati, which is in the Pisces. So people who are dominant with this star, or whose ruling star point is Revati, if you're having any marriage related, you are seeking for a marriage partner, you can pray to Lord Goddess Meenakshi of Madurai, Meenakshi Amman, on Wednesdays. This will help you seek your, find your partner as early as possible. This will at least enhance the process of your search. Depending on wherever your individual horoscope is, it may delay or it may take time. But personal consultation is required to enlighten you further on this aspect. On a generic note, these are the pariharas or remedies you can do if you are ruled by these star points currently in ALP. So this is all information, too much for the day. Actually, you should all sink in this information and try to figure out, if you are able to relate much more to it. And please post it on the comments, below, so that we will also see how much of information could be, useful to you, so that we can further provide much more in the forthcoming days. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add here, Roopesh?
So when to talk about Mercury, right? Again, we can talk till ages, because since he becomes the source of information for everything, right? So how much ever we speak, or how much ever information it comes out of Mercury, it is still the less. The more you speak, you feel the more less you have spoken already, because the information is like so much there. And also the first star of Rahu starts in the house of Mercury itself. Rahu is what? Something which is expanding, something which is abrupt, right? So the information is like so much there. One particular thing what I have to give as a tip, or like to bring an awareness to the people is, see, Mercury is a planet where you should give a very major importance, that to exclusively. The point you should be very much concerned about Mercury is if you have Mercury in the 8th house. In your horoscope, irrespective of any lagna, If you have Mercury in the 8th house, right, this is exactly where you have to take care of your Mercury good. Since at the very starting itself, you mentioned, right, madam, Mercury is a planet which always, travels in a very close proximity to Sun. And Mercury is also a planet which gets, repeated effect of Sun and goes into the state of combustion. Mercury is intelligence, right? Sun is what? Sun is ego. Mercury doesn't like the emotion of ego. Whenever ego becomes more, your intelligence get affected there. Your intelligence comes down. That is the reason whenever the ego dominates, right, the Mercury gets combust there. So even in our lives also, whenever our ego hits us, our intelligence gradually comes down. If our intelligence is not working, the planning, the decisions, whatever we do, completely ends in a negative track. So it becomes very important. If you want to take care of your Mercury, don't let your ego dominate you. Mercury doesn't like ego. And also, people with 8th house Mercury, it is very important for you to take care of your Mercury and 8th house Mercury. People should not lie. Mercury is the planet of communication. Very exclusively, these people, if you lie right, your Mercury becomes negative. Irrespective of whatever it is, speak truth, so that your Mercury is kept good in the horoscope. And also, see, nowadays we tend to see people carry phones even to the toilets. If you do that right, on the other hand, you are using your energy of the Mercury in a very, very negative way. Don't do it. You can actually test this. So, phones, or I have even come across people who carry books also. It's like the 10-15 minutes of time what you spend there, right? They think that they can literally gain some knowledge out of it. They literally carry books also. See, phones, books, and all the communication gadgets, all these things, right, it all comes under the influence of Mercury. 8th house is what? In the Kalapurusha Tattva, 8th house is house of Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Mars and Mercury doesn't get along with each other. If you carry the Mercury stuffs inside Mars, right, 8th house is what? 8th house in the Vastu also represents the toilet. If you carry Mercury there, right, you are gradually using your Mercury energy totally in a negative way. Don't do it. That too, especially people who has Mercury in the 8th house. Don't do all these things. Mercury will severely affect you. You can actually see, not only with people being Mercury in the 8th house, these people should be very, very careful. Apart from this, anybody, whoever is carrying books or phones inside the toilet, right, gradually see how your communication goes down day by day. How communication becomes a problem for you day by day. How documentation and all these related stuffs becomes a very negative day by day. All these things. So it becomes very, very important for you to take care of your Mercury, because he is the planet of intelligence. Only if you have intelligence, you can build appropriate skill sets which is suitable for you.
Okay, that is another daily tip, I should say. Every time, please remember not to carry any gadgets or any communication items into the toilets whenever you go, because I've also seen a lot of people carrying newspapers in those days, olden days. Now I see books and phone. Now it has everything. So please, people, be mindful of what you do, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I don't think any of us wants to, reduce the power of Mercury in our daily life, because it's so important. Our intelligence has to, help us in a daily basis. Every minute we need to be intelligent and aware of what is happening in our surroundings to protect ourselves first and then our family. Fine. We will end this program with a sloka for the Navagraha Lord Mercury. This anyone can chant and it will be helpful. to increase the intelligence factor in you. Okay. Priyanku Kalika Shyamam Rupena Pratimam Budam Saumyam Saumya Gunopetam Tam Budam Pranamamyaham. Thank you, viewers, for joining us in SiddharBoomi Live. We will see you soon in the forthcoming episodes. Thank you. Thank you, Roopesh.
Thanks a lot, madam.
Recording